Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Good morning, Vietnam!
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel the need for speed.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Love means never having to say you're sorry.
You do. You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
There's no crying in baseball!
This is wrong, bitch.
Hey, the Schwartz being with you.
I am your father.
Get you, my pretty.
Take your stinking paws off me.
May the force be with you.
Here's Johnny.
What's up, film fans? Happy Sunday. Happy Cinco de Mayo, and welcome to another new episode of the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. I'm your host, Juan, and I'm joined by the cast, the crew, the guys.
The Walking Dead.
Yeah, The Walking Dead. Zach?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? How's everyone doing out there?
Hopefully they're doing good. Ed, what about you? What's up, Ed? Ed, can you hear us? Ed, can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
While there's some technical difficulties going on with Ed, I don't think he can hear us. But Zach, that has just been the absolute cause of this
Train wreck.
weekend. That's been the
Yeah.
train wreck of this entire weekend.
Yeah.
Technical difficulties, no Wi-Fi. It has been hell on wheels this weekend. So for everybody who was supposed to join us live, Film Row, Oklahoma City's independent Oklahoma theater, it was a complete disaster. It was a shit show. But I guess that's what happens when you try to take things live. I can't unmute Ed. I don't even know if he can hear us. Ed, if you can hear us, give us a thumbs up. I don't know.
Guess
Thumbs up.
not.
Zach, you can hear me, though,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
It is, but yeah. So for everybody who was going to come out, try to come out, or who did show up, the select few, and was able to join us for the podcast Friday, we get to have a screening of the movie we're viewing today, Night of the Living Dead. So we'll get into that movie here in a little bit. But Zach, what about you? How was your weekend?
Weekend was good. Got some exciting news at work. Starting a new job, a little bit more pay. So, in these difficult times, it's always nice. Did some live, we'll talk about some live reporting here in a little bit.
Man, are these some difficult
yeah.
times, man. People can't even afford to go to a movie here in Oklahoma City. Yeah.
No.
$10 movie
that, overall,
screening,
it was,
they can't go.
I know. Overall, it was pretty good. What about you, man? Other than the technical difficulties.
Other than a shit show, it was pretty good. It was a good weekend. It went by way too fast, like always, I guess.
Yep.
But I got some exciting news, man. You realize we're just 5 episodes away from 300?
That's unreal, man. Literally 300 and our 300th episode.
5 episodes away from 300, and I think it's going to be fun. I don't know what we're going to do. I know we're going to give stuff away. I got some more San Marcos gift certificates to give away, some digital copies. So it should be a little fun time in June. But not only is it almost 300, we're halfway done with the year almost, man.
I don't know. It is true what they say. The older you get, the quicker it goes.
What do you think? Speaking of, you had some on location out in the field yourself, huh?
Yeah.
We weren't going to discuss recent. We weren't going to discuss recent watches. I probably still ain't anyway. But what did you go check out in the field this week?
I literally, about 30 minutes ago, just got back from seeing The Fall Guy, the new Ryan Gosling, Emily Blunt movie. It was fun. Typical rom-com action. It was a fun movie. had some twists and turns I wasn't expecting. So, that's what you want. Kung Fu Panda 4, fourth movie in a franchise. It is what it is. So, Jack Black's fun. The only good thing that came out of that was his rendition of Baby One More Time. So that's a great thing. And just a little preview for next week. Went and saw The Mummy for its 25th anniversary in the theater. So
Kung Fu Panda 4, isn't that already that's already on Blu-ray, isn't it?
It's on Blu-ray. It's on digital, but not Blu-ray yet.
Oh, where'd you go see it at? You see it at home?
No, I Tinseltown. Saw it at Tinseltown.
Okay.
Saw like early 11 o'clock showing.
Dude, you're just
I'm
traveling.
all over the place.
You're traveling everywhere, man. Why don't you just keep that ass at home?
Dude, if I stay at home, none of the movies will get watched. So
man.
Check out The Fall Guy. Check out The Mummy for next week's episode, and those are probably my two recommends.
Two recommendations. I really have been just kind of a quiet week. I haven't really went out and gone anywhere. I did check out I'm checking out Star Wars right now. It's been May the 4th, so I didn't watch any Star Wars movies last year or the year before. So I'm kind of just like, I don't know. Is it weird lately that I have to kind of recently be in the mood to watch those fucking movies? Like used to, I could just pop one in and just have a good old time with it. But now they're almost like background noises, man.
Yeah, we were gonna do Revenge of the Sith, but next
that's what we should have
25th
fucking
anniversary.
That's what we should have fucking did. But that was on one of my recent watches. I watched 1, 2, and 3 the other day. Watched A New Hope today. Episode 3 is kind of quietly pretty good.
It's better than what people give it credit for. I'll be honest.
It's kind of like that old foul-mouthed mother-in-law that kind of just grows on you in time. You hate her at first, but then she just slowly starts.
Dude, episode 3 is my favorite, easily.
Oh, there he is. There's Edward. He can hear us. Episode 3 was okay. I enjoyed it. It was one of the ones I recently kind of hated when it first came out, but now it's kind of grown on me. But Ed, I thought episode 1 was your favorite. I knew he liked that Jar Jar.
Something else going back, I forgot to recent watches. I'm getting ready for The Kingdom, and I'm watching the Planet of the Apes movies, the Andy Serkis ones, to get ready for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. So I watched Rise last night.
Dude, I saw reviews. I saw reviews, and they're saying it's he's watching it for all the apes. Leave some apes for us, damn it.
Yeah, I've heard early reviews have been pretty good, so we'll find out.
I've heard some of the reviews on IGN said it's best in the franchise.
Oh, pretty high talk there.
Other than the Star Wars movies, though, man, like I said, episode 1, 2, and 3, and I watched 4 today.
Mm-hmm.
Have you
watched any more Fallout?
No, I haven't gotten back on after episode 1. I did watch the WWE Premium Live event that was on the sports radio show that we did. Me and Craig did the other day. We did a prediction show, so go back and listen to that. It was a pretty good pay-per-view. It went like 2.5 hours. Pretty predictable, but all the matches were pretty solid. I don't know. There's a bunch of. I wanted to watch the Book of Clarence today. I heard that was really good.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen it?
No, not yet. I think it's from the director of what was that Netflix movie I recommend? Like it was my top 10 a couple years ago. The Higher They Fall, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If it's from the director of that, then it might be pretty good.
Nice. But yeah. Other than that, honestly, it's been that weekend, so go and enjoy the Star Wars movies. on they're all on Disney Plus.
Nice.
So,
and Rise, Dawn, and War for the Planet of the Apes they added them on Hulu, so you can go check those out as well.
oh wow, you can watch all three of them.
Yep.
What about you, Ed? You check anything out this weekend?
Sorry about that. Not a lot. Been a lot of baseball, nephew tournaments, and all that good stuff. So there's that. Yeah, I can't really say I've been doing much media at all. There is one that I did actually check out that kind of surprisingly I liked quite a bit. Have either of you heard of a movie called Troll?
No, Justin
The
Timberlake.
Netflix movie.
Like just a year and a half, 2 years old. But it's a Finn or Swedish film.
Oh, was it on
Finnish or Swedish,
Netflix?
one of the two. That's translated into English. Do what?
Was it on Netflix? Netflix original movie?
It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
I've heard of it, but I haven't watched it.
I was completely surprised by it. That it wasn't the greatest thing I've ever seen, but it definitely was something I think decent to check out. Can't really cry about that one, honestly. Yes.
As a little laggy, he's cutting in and out, guys. Sorry if you're having a hard time hearing him.
Yeah.
He's mobile right now.
Yeah. Zach, can you hear him?
Yeah, I can hear him. He's just, in and out.
Like the burger joint. Man.
Well, what are we talking about today, Johnny?
Man, today we are talking about the 1968 classic. Is it a classic? But that's what we're talking about today. We are talking about George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead. It had a release date of October 4th, 1968, with a budget of $125,000. It has recently grossed a little over $30 million all time at the box office. IMDb has it at 7.8, Rotten Tomatoes at 87%. The Metascore is at 89%, and on Letterboxd it's at 4.0. A ragtag group of Pennsylvanians barricade themselves in an old farmhouse to remain safe from a horde flesh-eating ghouls that are raving the northeast of the United States. Like I said, written and directed by George A. Romero, starring Dwayne Jones, Judith O'Dare, Carl Heidman, Marilyn Essman, Keith Wayne, Judith Ridley. 1968. Zach, do you remember the last time you've seen this, or is this the first time?
No, I'd seen this maybe about 5 years ago, 2000, I don't know, 17, 18 maybe. And to be honest, like I heard so much hype about this movie, that it was the start of the zombie genre, all this and that. I even checked out that Criterion that's right behind you. Yeah, and I watched it, and I'll be honest, I was kind of disappointed in it. I mean, I know it is what it is, and all this and that.
It just doesn't age well.
Yeah. And so on this rewatch, I had a little bit better appreciation for it just because of just the technical aspect of it. And obviously, I think George Romero was ahead of his time, and we'll talk about that, his legacy as a director and filmmaker. What about you?
I think I'm the same way. I think it just didn't age well with the time. There's some positives about it. Yeah, that's true. But again, it's a low budget film from the 60s, a first of its kind. It was well executed. Don't get me wrong; it started a lot of things, but just on this rewatch, it just doesn't age very well. Whether it
felt like homework.
Whether it be some of the the casting choices or just the way certain things were shot from back in the day. You could go years prior and Psycho, 10 years later, Halloween came out.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. It's considered a classic. It's a cult classic, but to me, I don't know if I would ever really want to. Again, I got this Criterion half off, so I don't know if I would have ever spent full price on it. And again, I have to want to be in the mood to watch this movie.
Well, and to me, I just thought, granted, we've had like that came out 1968. You said,
yeah, 1968.
This movie is almost 60 years old, and so we've had a lot of different zombie movies. We've had a lot of different aspects to horror and all this and that. And to me, like you said, this was Psycho came out in 1960, 61, something like that. So this was 8 years after that. So I will say this movie is kind of Hitchcockian in the way that the score very, very, very much drives the movie. It drives the characters and drives the scene.
Saves the movie.
Yeah.
From it being an absolute snore fest.
Yeah, I agree. It's almost, crazy enough until you get kind of more of the characters in. It's almost a silent movie, to be honest. It's just, like you said, the score very much drives the movie. And the performances, you're talking about like a mid-level but very little budget film that, you're not having to put a lot of charisma into these roles, I think. So,
I even went and checked this movie out like we were supposed to at the at Film Row on the big screen, and I kind of thought maybe that would save the film, seeing it in a big theater experience, loud. You can go check this movie out. That's where I watched it from. OKC's independent nonprofit theater, and man, even watching it in a theater setting did not save the movie for me at all. Like, I don't know. It was cool. It was cool checking it out on the big screen.
I didn't save it.
No, it just like you said, even in a theater setting, kind of just felt like homework. So the Criterion, though, like, I mean, it looks good. It sounds good. There's a crap ton of special features on the disc. Where did you have your main issue with it? I know my main issue was probably with the main female who played Barbara. Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly,
Dwayne Jones to me was the savior of the movie. I'd call him the MVP of the movie.
Yeah, I agree with that. Honestly, the pacing of it, I just thought like it. This is an hour and 34-minute movie. It felt like 2 hours, honestly. Like I really thought like I'd press it to go to the bathroom or whatever, and it was only like 5 minutes in or 6 minutes in.
It didn't. The pacing was good for me. I didn't feel like it was too bad.
So it's also a film that just not a lot of stuff happens. Honestly, I think the big moment or the big climax of the movie is
the little girl.
Yeah, and that's almost like damn near like the last like 15 minutes in the movie.
Yeah, you have your main, some of the main plot twists, or I guess the cemetery opening, though, I'm not gonna lie, is kind of my favorite part. But I think that part has been embedded in me because of that's the movie that the couple in Halloween 2 were watching. The original direct sequel to the first Halloween. The old lady's making her husband a sandwich, and that's the movie he's watching. So you can hear Night of the Living Dead in the background during Halloween 2. So I was always like, what's that movie? Is that, or, is that even a movie that you're watching? Because when I was younger, I thought they would make movies like Home Alone, the movie he's watching in Home Alone is a fake movie.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought. I was like, so when I found out that they were watching Night of the Living Dead, I was like, man, I got to check that out. So that's originally what made me check out Night of the Living Dead.
That's because of Halloween. Yeah,
Halloween
Halloween
2.
too. That's funny. What do you think the legacy of this movie is? I mean, obviously, the big thing is that it started the zombie genre of horror, but
Man,
do you think there's
let's
something
talk.
more than that?
Yeah, let's talk about that. I think not only did it start the legacy of George A. Romero, the name, but I think it also started, like you said, the zombie genre of film. You know,
Mhm.
Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, The Day 2, The Walking Dead, like
Yeah,
Zombieland 2, World War Z, like all this stuff blew up because of this movie. And
yeah,
no matter if the pacing is a hard watch or if it's just doesn't age very well, you have to nod your head to it. You have to salute that this was the start of the ghouls, the zombies.
yeah,
We probably wouldn't even get Michael Jackson's Thriller without this movie.
yeah. That's true. If you really think about it, yeah,
Yeah, and this even started a bunch of you know uh, graphic novels too. So
yeah.
it's at
I
least
mean,
worth a watch.
yeah. Is Dawn of the Dead, is that the next film technically in that saga?
Technically, 10 years later, 1978, Dawn of the Dead, George A. Romero's sequel.
Okay, so I mean,
That's
we
same
talk
place,
about.
taking place inside of a mall, just like the Zack Snyder one.
I was about to say, yeah. I mean, we wouldn't have Dawn of the Dead, Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, if this wasn't a hit. You know, and the funny thing to me is it's like this. I think this movie has been ingrained in pop culture so much. You brought up The Walking Dead. I don't know if you've seen that show or not, but the whole second season takes place in a farmhouse. So I mean, I think that's literally a nod to this movie, which is cool in a way. Um, watching an interview with Romero, is they asked him like, did you ever want to do something with The Walking Dead? He said, yeah. He said he would have loved to direct an episode of that. And I said, yeah, that'd be cool, but they just never asked him. So, the father of zombie movies, I don't know why you wouldn't go out there and say, hey, you want to be part of this.
Yeah, he even was making zombie movies all the way up until he died. Even Land of the Dead.
Yeah.
Even though they weren't big blockbuster hits, he was still writing and directing zombie movies.
Yeah. And I think the interesting thing, I
Tom
think the fun thing about these movies,
Tom
go ahead.
Savani,
Yeah,
famous makeup artist
remade
for
it.
Friday the 13th. Yeah, but he probably didn't even get his start or his knock without this movie being made.
Yeah, and the same could be said for Greg Nicotero, who did a lot of the special effects for The Walking Dead. He was probably inspired by this. Even though, the funny thing is, it's like the quote unquote ghouls in this, they just look like they just have like tattered clothes and ripped clothes and everything. It's not like what we think of as zombies now. You had to start somewhere, and I think it's kind of cool.
What did you think of like just the way the makeup was for 1968? Like maybe the scenes. There's a certain scene where they're just eating and gnawing on one of the humans, and it looks like they're just eating raw pigs. Like, what did you think of
Yeah,
some of the makeup effects? And at least to me, that's a big positive for the movie. Were the special effects in the movie?
yeah, yeah. I think obviously this is 1968, so you weren't going to show anything as grotesque. Obviously, they're probably eating raw hamburger meat or pig's heart or whatever it is. It's fun to see these type of films. This is very much like I kind of put it on the same level as like the Blob from like the 1950s. It's kind of like that B horror movie type trope where it's kind of like obviously the visual effects are not that good, the performances are not that great, but you watch it because you kind of enjoy it just to see how it's going to turn out.
Yeah, that makes sense. There's even some B movies though that like I can watch constantly. Like I can watch almost every day, or at least
Yeah,
once a month. I don't know if this is one of those B movies that but you know what? Even though I say that, whether it's The Walking Dead, World War Z, we talked 28 days
28
later last
Daters.
year. Yeah, 28
Yeah.
daters. We
Hmm.
talked 28 days later last year. I'm just not a big zombie guy. I think that's
I
what it comes
think
down to. I don't think it's the subject matter or how old the subject matter is. I think I'm just not that big of a zombie guy.
zombie. Well, and that's a whole nother discussion because I think zombies, because of The Walking Dead, they burnt that to the ground to the point where it's like I don't want to see another zombie movie. I don't care about it. You know, I think World War Z was kind of the exception where it's just like people really didn't know what to expect from that, and it turned out to be a really fun type movie. Which we've been trying to we've been trying to talk about that for like the last couple of years, which is kind of hilarious. But that was just kind of like really much. It really wasn't a horror movie. It was much more like an action thriller where it's just like in your face, all this running and going. But yeah, I think I think if it's done really well, like I don't know if you would call The Last of Us a zombie movie because they're more like mutated monsters type stuff.
Like I Am Legend.
Yeah. Yeah, and really I Am Legend is more vampires if you really like get down to like the subject matter. But I think if the zombie movies could be done really well, it can be a very compelling experience. Like I'll put Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead in there. I think, that movie actually does have some thrills to it. It's disturbing in some ways. So
Okay, well, what do you think about some of the storylines from Extinct? What's it called? Mila Djokovic.
Oh, Resident Evil.
Yeah.
I
feel like the first one is maybe a true zombie movie.
I don't know, because like I categorize those more as like video game adaptations and not really zombie movies. Because it's like you're right. I think the first one is much more has much more the classic zombie thrills to it. But the other ones are kind of like high octane action movies.
Yeah. I just have a feeling that making all the callbacks to all these different zombie movies, you have to really, like you said, you have to really just hit it on the head with a nail. Like, and then looking at movies like Zombieland, how did movies like that take zombie movies to another level? Or maybe Warm Bodies.
Yeah. I think anytime you have it like a genre of horror like zombies or vampires or demonic possessions or whatever, you have to find, if you're going to keep doing that type of genre, you really have to find ways to reinvent it. Like you said with Warm Bodies with zombies, or the first Paranormal Activity when it first came out. It was kind of like, oh wow, this is like kind of like a different version of that.
Zombieland hit it on the head perfectly.
Yeah. Let's do a comedy horror, and the movie's awesome. I'm kind of surprised they haven't done that movie yet. So
have we not?
No, we have not. No, we haven't done Zombieland. I don't think. I think the fun thing about these Romero movies, now I haven't seen a lot of them, but I think hindered by the technology of the day, of the film techniques of the day, it's fun to see how bloodier they get as they go, and just much more of the acceptability of what is able to be shown in that time frame during that time.
Yeah, gore has gotten substantially more throughout the time. I don't know, what, of the past 60 years easily.
Yeah,
and we were talking about how we kind of had a rough feel for the movie, how like it doesn't to us, it hasn't aged well, even sitting in a theater setting. Like, to me, it was just kind of like blah. But I was telling Zach, like, I'm not really a big zombie guy, so even watching this, I'm like, you got to respect it for what it did for the genre. But even now, just like, man, it was kind of an okay watch.
I mean, you got to understand, like, you don't compare something like Bela Lugosi to today. You know what I mean? Like, you can't do that.
It's a different version of it. Yeah.
that, but at the same time, 100 years, 60 years, 20 years, even for that matter, we think of different things, or say with dinosaurs for that matter, we've come up with different understandings of them for that matter.
Well, we weren't really comparing. We were just saying like how it just didn't age very well for a movie from 1968. Psycho, 1961 ages perfectly.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying is that the understanding of it is different, because with that, I think you and I talked about this, Zach. They kept calling them ghouls over and over. Was just ghouls, not zombies, not or the undead is another term they used with them over and over again. To now it's like zombies is the true technical term that we all use anymore. I think
an updated word.
Little bit, but it is what it is. But at the same time,
I don't even think the word zombie existed in 1968. It probably wasn't even in the fucking dictionary.
Probably not.
But I
will say one of the big positives I will say about this movie is that it was the subject matter. Obviously, we're talking about ghouls or zombies, whatever you want to say. The way they become zombies and the way they theorize it was much. I like that aspect of it because of what was going on during the time.
How did they become zombies? Zach?
They think it's because of space radiation. Because at that time we were really trying to get to the moon and all that. So I think that the way that they were able to use like current events of the time, it's like let's take that and put it into the movie, and that will explain how the dead are coming back to life.
Actually, the word there was a movie with Bela Lugosi and Mage Bellamy back in 1932 called White Zombie.
Yep.
So, and that was 36 years earlier than this film.
That one probably sucks ass too.
Watch it be better than this.
With this film, you've got a lot of people that were just a little dirty, or their clothes weren't in the best condition, for that matter. Yeah. Not necessarily like The Walking Dead or 28 Days Later, or different movies such as those ones, or Zombieland, even for that matter. More of a playful comedy zombie film.
And we talked about that a little bit. How it's just like the makeup and the special effects. It's like they're just tattered clothes or ripped clothes or whatever. It's not like you watch you put an episode of The Walking Dead and there's like a half their face is missing, and they didn't have the money like today's TV shows and movies have today.
I will say probably one of my favorite, and I might get flack for this, but one of my favorite zombie movies is Dawn of the Dead. That one is
Zack version.
Back in 2000, set in the mall and all that. Yeah. That one was.
It's actually a remake from George A. Romero's sequel to this one. So.
Yeah.
That one is just nuts, but I've never seen the original then, so there is that. But no, I mean, this one, like you said, didn't age well. It didn't. It did do one thing that it opened the genre. Like that's its main staple that it did do very well. So I mean,
I think my biggest complaint is the ending of this movie, and I really don't want to go down this rabbit hole about this, but me and Ed were talking about it all yesterday. It's a very much a Tarantino ending where everybody dies. And you think Ben is going to be the last survivor.
Just everybody in the house.
Yeah, everyone dies in the house. You think Ben's going to be the sole survivor, but then he gets shot because the police and just like survivors are just mowing through everything. But my problem is like, did Romero write that scene in the idea of they thought he was a zombie and he was holding a weapon, or like I said, I don't want to go down this road.
You thought it was a race thing?
Yeah, it wasn't a race thing because of when the movie came out.
Romero already stated that he was, they could hardly see him. He was kind of creeping into the windows anyway. They didn't see the gun, and then just shot away with him. So,
No, so
I guess
he himself
I guess
said
he had
that.
been I guess he had been asked numerous times if was it a race thing, and I guess he spoke out and said no, that the house was already reported condemned and mummified by all these creatures. So the moment they see some movement in there, they just shot away.
Okay. Okay.
And I mean, it's kind of a fair thought, just because this was the first film to have a person of color as the main or the lead, for that matter, and not be like too stereotyped or too
In a horror movie, you're talking about?
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
But
well, because I was gonna say,
because in the heat of the night, there was a black lead. In the heat of the night, he was the main character.
And guess who's coming to dinner? That was a year before that with Sidney Poitier. So
there you go.
Cine-Men, he's one of the
good
ghosts.
actor. Yeah.
So
I was going to ask you, Johnny, what do you think? I really thought of.
Am I related to George A. Romero? Yes.
Well, we finally got one. We got one mystery off the books. No, I was going to say, when they're doing like the photos of the dead and they're like cutting back and forth, didn't that kind of remind you of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, of like the crime scene photos?
Oh yeah, the very ending.
Yeah.
That Texas Chainsaw written all over it.
Yeah. It's probably where they got the idea from it, to be honest.
Also, so kind of the same feels when the sheriff was explaining some of the horrific scenes. It kind of felt like, same thing.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of, Zach, you said how they explained how they became, the ghouls. Did you also like the way that the news and the TV airings, both you guys can answer, did you like how both the TV and the radio news reports kept coming throughout the whole movie?
I did, because it was a way of doing it without actually showing it. Like, in today's world, if this was a movie today, they would you would have a character on different parts of the world, and it would cut back. All you have to do is do like a news broadcast and say like, okay, this is what's going outside. This is what's going on outside the farmhouse, and that's all you need. It establishes that this is a nationwide or worldwide event.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I liked it just because it gave more depth to the film. Like, it's not just set in that central location and whatever else. Because I mean, the only scene that I truly had a problem with like explanations is just like the one where they first encounter the original ghoul or whatever in the like uniform or whatever have you. Exactly. Because he's like, oh look, they're here, it's coming for you though. And she's like, he'll hear you. And it's just like, where the hell did this come from? Kind of thing. That
Ed, are you gonna do a 30-minute rant about why you hate Barbara so much?
She was just, dude, she had no depth to her after the cemetery scene.
Yeah, even during, she was just a terrible actress. You can tell George A. Romero probably just got the local hooker around the corner to just go ahead and do this role.
Damn.
She was terrible. I can see why Dwayne slapped her and made her the unresponsive bitch that she was.
Like, after that point, she was, and I mean, don't get me wrong, even down, some actresses can pull that off very well. Some actors can pull it off very well. Not having to have many lines, not having to do much and all that, being a background character. Yeah. But she just sat there like a bump on the log. I mean, honestly, like, my couch has done better acting. Like, it's all I've got. I don't know.
After he slapped her, he probably gave her the old Dwayne. That's why she was like that afterwards. That's in the uncut version.
Oh, the director's cut.
It's in the Criterion exclusive.
Is it the Criterion edition?
Yeah.
Is it the Romero cut?
That ain't just a zombie finger going up that skirt there. See?
Gave her the old ghoul.
He gave her the old shotgun tantrum.
Well, honestly, like, her death is the one that makes the most sense, because she was just so obsessed about losing her brother that when her brother actually comes back as a zombie, it's just like, yeah, please.
That's another thing. She had an unbelievable obsession with her brother. Like almost if this movie was set in Alabama.
Yeah.
And not in Pennsylvania.
Because for a minute, the first time I watched it, I did think they were a couple. And then once she did start calling, it was just like, huh. But what the hell? But nah, man, it's just like her need to get out of there didn't
It was
it
just
made
like our need to
sense.
get out of that theater. Jesus, that movie was just
ferocious.
It made sense, but at the same time, it was just more of a collapse on itself. Like there's not much she added to a character or to the film at all. There's really not. She opened it,
Yeah.
and that was about it.
Yeah. So, it's just one of those movies that just like I agree with you, Johnny. It's just you have to kind of watch it to understand just appreciate where this genre came from. But like, it's not one that like I'll probably never rewatch this again. To be
how did you
completely
check it
honest.
out, Zach? Did you watch it on the Criterion Channel? Did you go buy it?
No, it it's pretty much almost on every streaming. I watched it on Max, and they actually had the the updated Criterion version of it, so it looked pretty pristine.
Oh, nice. What'd you think of the only big plot twist, really, about the little girl becoming a zombie eating?
Well, and that
little bitch.
To be completely honest, is one of those things that we've had so much. Like I said, we've had so much movie making, or so many rules about this genre. It's just like, oh, she's like, oh, one of those things bitter. It's like, oh, okay, so that's gonna come. She's gonna turn into a zombie and attack the parent or something. So it wasn't a surprise.
But did she eat the dad and just kill the mom and let the mom be?
She stabbed the mom and let the mom be. The dad, I think she bit him a couple times, and that's really it.
That's another thing that kind of didn't make any sense. Like,
and then Ben had to put him down.
Yeah, like it kind of explained, like, they almost have no sense. They're just eating what they can get to eat for the horror aspect of it. But the little girl just killed and then didn't even eat the mom.
Honestly, man, with her, I'm sorry, not with that, but with the explanation of how to kill them, for that matter, it just, they said, doesn't look, they can take so much damage to the body, but you have to go ahead and get a shot to the head, and the head is what gets them in.
Which sets up that rule, that goes back. We were talking about Zombieland earlier. That's like one of the rules that Jesse Eisenberg has. 2 shots to the head, double tap.
Double tap.
So,
they didn't pay attention to that for most of it. They really didn't. But
yeah, I mean, like I said, this is not a bad movie. It's just
an old movie.
You can't
it's one of those that
old movies are good, but this one just doesn't age very well.
Yeah, I think it's hysterical, and the death just it's one of those things where like when the brother hits his head on the tombstone, it's so like overacted. It's like oh
yeah,
like no.
Yeah. And let us know, like, are we being a little too harsh? Do you guys find this movie better than what we're talking about, or do you find this movie better than some of the older movies that we've talked about before? Hit us up on the socials, facebook.com/the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. The Instagram is all one word, the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. Twitter or X is @Cine-Men405. And then you can email us, cinemen921@gmail.com. Because it's a lot better to click or tweet than it is to show up in person. So we also have, Ed, we just got done talking about this. Episode 300 is literally right around the corner. It's the second week of June. It'll be live right here on Eva Swap Productions YouTube channel, June the 9th. We'll have giveaways. We'll have some special guests. And we'll be talking about episode 300. So don't forget that June 9th. 300, man. 300 for 300. Should be pretty fun. So let's get into...
Johnny, when you're watching this, you're like, man, I wish we were reviewing World War Z right now.
No, I should have stuck to Star Wars Episode 3. Favorite scene? Ed, we'll start with you.
Man, I thought the scene where they were trying to fill the truck up was pretty good.
That's another dumbass scene. Not filling up the truck, but just the whole scene of them like, come on now. Felt like a bunch of Oklahomans trying to get gas when it reached down to
Hey,
$1.50.
First off,
in the middle of the tornado.
Hell yeah, son! But no, man, that was one of the better parts in my eyes because, like, it kind of made more sense. It's one of the old tropes. It really is, and this may have started it or whatever. I don't know, to be honest, but I do know that it was just a good, addition. It did add depth to it. It did add more, impact to it, if you will. It added more. Oh shit! This is for something. It's not just they kill 5 people and they're good. Yeah. No, 2 people died for being dumbasses, and the other, like, I think it went from like 6 zombies or ghouls to like 30 or something like that.
Well,
20?
It would have been only just one person if that girl had ran out there to the truck and she died with the explosion.
So, they went out together, so
What about you guys? There's the big debate in the movie: down in the cellar or above, and just board up more windows. What would you guys have done?
Board up more windows.
Yeah.
Because we've seen what happened down in the cellar.
I think the guy who wanted to take the blonde girl down to the cellar with his wife was just wanting a threesome. That's all it came down to. I think he was just being perverted, and he just wanted to go out in style before he died.
I thought you were about to say he wanted to play Monopoly or go fish.
No.
Well, you wanted to go fishing, but it's a whole different way of doing it.
First
Zach,
off,
what about you? What's your favorite scene?
I'll probably say the broadcast, where they're listening to the broadcast about how exactly is this happening? Is it space radiation? Is it, whatever.
But that's the original, plot in the movie. They stated this is happening because of space radiation.
Yeah, I think that's something completely different. It's not a virus. It's not a
But then
it's not Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. It's something completely different. So,
but then the argument is, if it's space radiation, why aren't some of the other people getting it?
Yeah, I think if you tug at the strings, you'll start to fall apart. So I try not to do that. Well, Johnny's dying over here. What about you, Johnny? Did you have a favorite scene?
That's the bullshit radiation from the movie. I like the original opening. I like the opening with Johnny and the cemetery scene. Just like I said, I first found out about this movie while watching Halloween 2. I also enjoy the scene where Dwayne gets shot. And like you said, Zach, it kind of feels like Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibes. So,
fair.
Star rating. Edward, start with you.
Man, I'm gonna have to go ahead and give this a 6. Whether I'm the nicest or
that's why Edward hasn't been here in a while. 1 out of 5, Ed.
Okay. If I could read. 2.5 out of 5. If I could go ahead and basically say that it's mainly due to the the originator of the genre, as well as there's some good things in it. There are, but the ending kind of just fell flat on its ass. Some of the acting was just plain ass terrible. Some of the tropes were just too much for nowadays, I guess. But there's that. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow that. 2.5 for me. Like I said, it's fine. It's not terrible. It's not great. It's just one of those films that, it is what it is. I accept it for what it is. It's cool to see where this genre how this genre got started with this film, and how some of the tropes kind of came out of this, like shooting them in the head or get bit and then you turn into one, whatever. Like I said, there's some good qualities of this, but 2.5 for me. You're on mute, Johnny.
I will be giving this movie the same, 2.5 for me. It might even be cool to watch it, every horror season, maybe not even. Maybe when the weather's a little cooler like today was. Today kind of felt like fall early in the morning here in the great state of Oklahoma City, but I kind of feel the same way you guys, just a movie that kind of shit the bed 60 some odd years later. Let us know, though. You like it? You don't like it? It's one of those movies that it's a cult following. So, but Zach, what are we talking about next week?
Next week, we are celebrating and talking about the 25th anniversary of The Mummy, the Brendan Fraser movie from 1999. Like I said, I talked about it in recent watches. I saw it at the theater this past week, and it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun conversation. I'll just leave it at that.
Wednesday, May 15th, horror vibes continue. We come back. Join me and the guys as we talk another new season of Friday the 14th podcast. We talk Saw 10 Wednesday night, 7:30, May 15th, for another new episode of Friday the 14th podcast.
Or as I call it, Saw 58. Mm-hmm.
Saw 58. Ed, you excited about The Mummy next week?
Yeah, man. Can't wait to talk about this. It's going to be an interesting episode to see what everybody thinks and kind of go from there.
Zach, where's the streaming at? You can check it in theaters this week for its 25th anniversary.
Yeah, it's still in theaters. It's on Peacock, so yeah, definitely go Peacock it up, or go. If you didn't get to see it in theaters 25 years ago, here's your chance, and I highly recommend it.
Go cock it up, like Zach said. That's probably where Ed's gonna watch it, not unless you go check it out in the theater. Yeah, check it out. Peacock, The Mummy next week should be pretty fun. Episode 300 the week after that. May, guys, is already underway. May is going to be a fun month. Doing part 2 in just a few weeks, and then we end May with our famous Memorial Day episode war movie with Apocalypse Now. So
heck yeah,
should be pretty fun. Other than that, guys, anything else before we put the final nail in the coffin for episode 295?
I see what you did there. No, like I said, I think all of us appreciate the movie, but it's just not one that we're just like, yeah, this is classic.
Classic of a shit show. So yeah, if that's it, Ed, do you have anything to say before we get out of here?
Nah.
The Mummy 25th anniversary next Sunday, 6 p.m. on another new episode of the Cine-Men movie podcast. Y'all have a good week.
Bye.
Mummy it up.